30 hours with President Trump. Plus, news from the Trump campaign, why they're cutting ties with a group of pollsters, and more from the 2020 race. The high-profile Democrat warning the party they can only beat President Trump if they nominate a transformational candidate. Is this a message about Joe Biden? Breaking right now, tornado outbreak. More than a dozen reported, tearing across the Midwest, and the torrential rain triggering flash floods. Millions in the streets. The stunning scene in Hong Kong. Protesters sending a message to China. The big city mayor slamming her own police department.
Get out the
A tense confrontation with a family in Phoenix. Police threatening to shoot a pregnant mother holding her 2 children. Also tonight, the tracking app miracle. The mother, desperate to find her missing daughter, turning to an online app that showed her child was in need of help.
My daughter is in a ditch in a ravine.
The simple technology that helped save her life. And first Father's Day. Can you guess who's the dad of this little boy celebrating Father's Day for the first time?
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Tom Yamas. And we begin with new developments after that exclusive interview with President Trump. Tonight, the Trump campaign has cut ties with some of its pollsters after data was leaked. ABC's George Stephanopoulos one-on-one with the president, asking him about the polls showing he is trailing Joe Biden in key battleground states. The president vehemently denying that claim, saying the truth is the exact opposite, that he is leading everywhere. Tonight, though, the campaign is taking action after an apparent leak. ABC's Rachel Scott starts us off at the White House.
The president insists polls that show him behind the Democrats are phony and fake.
Why does it bother you so much?
Because it's untrue. I like the truth. You know, I'm actually a very honest guy. If I thought they were correct, I wouldn't be complaining at all.
But a leaked internal poll meant for Trump campaign eyes only painted a grim picture of a potential 2020 matchup between President Trump and Joe Biden. And now the campaign is cutting ties with some of its pollsters. The March data first obtained by ABC News showed the president trailing by wide margins in 3 key battleground states. Biden held a double-digit lead in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. And in Florida, where the president is scheduled to officially launch his re-election campaign, he was behind 7 points. Campaign manager Brad Parscale dismissing those numbers as ancient, saying, quote, "Since then, we have seen huge swings in the president's favor." The president telling George in his exclusive interview, the polls he's seen are good.
Even your own polls show you're behind right now, don't they?
No, my polls show that I'm winning everywhere. Nobody showed you those polls because those polls don't exist, George. Those polls don't exist.
As a presidential candidate, Trump was known to tout favorable polling numbers.
We're doing very well in the polls. That's important, okay? I'm winning all of these polls. How many were there? 7 or 8 or 9? You know, my poll numbers are going through the roof.
Now saying he doesn't even believe in pollsters.
I just was given a meeting with my pollster, who I frankly don't even believe in pollsters, if you want to know the truth. You just run a campaign, and whatever it is. But I just had a meeting with somebody that's a pollster, and I'm winning everywhere.
All right, let's get right to Rachel Scott at the White House tonight for us. The president clearly having plenty to say about polls right there. And there's more news from the campaign trail. Freshman Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC as some call her, with a warning for Democrats about who they nominate to take on the president in 2020.
I think that we have a very real risk of losing the presidency to Donald Trump if we do not have a presidential candidate that is fighting for true transformational change in the lives of working people in the United States.
Rachel, Ocasio-Cortez has been very vocal about the party not crowning Joe Biden with the nomination, but there is a new poll out tonight showing Biden and other Democrats out ahead against the president.
Tom, President Trump likely won't be happy about this latest Fox News poll. It shows Joe Biden with a significant edge on the president. And he's not the only one. Senator Bernie Sanders also ahead. Tom?
Rachel Scott with the news from the campaign trail tonight. Rachel, thank you. And President Trump also making news about the possibility of firing special counsel Robert Mueller, saying he had the right to fire him, but for the first time saying he held back because of what he witnessed with President Nixon.
I would constantly tell anybody that would listen, including you, including the media, that Robert Mueller was conflicted. Robert Mueller had a total conflict of interest. I didn't say that. Look, Article 2, I would be allowed to fire Robert Mueller. There was not, assuming I did all of the things I said I want to fire him. Number one, I didn't. He wasn't fired. Okay, number one, very importantly. But more importantly, Article 2 allows me to do whatever I want. Article 2 would have allowed me to fire him.
So it sounds
but
like
I wasn't going to fire. You know why? Because I watched Richard Nixon go around firing everybody, and that didn't work out too well. So very simply, Article 2 would allow me to do it.
And George will have much more of his one-on-one with the president. His special runs tonight. President Trump, 30 hours, coming up a short time from now at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC. Also tonight, President Trump is accusing the New York Times of treason for reporting that the U.S. is waging a cyber invasion into Russia's power grid. The Times also reporting that some of the administration may even want the information to go public. But the president disagrees, calling the Times the enemy of the people. Here's ABC's Lana Zach.
Tonight, President Trump is accusing the New York Times of a virtual act of treason for this article describing a U.S. strategy to attack Russia's power grid. According to the Times, the U.S. is planting code inside key Russian targets, operations that do not require presidential approval. The report cites administration officials who say they do not believe President Trump has been fully briefed on these efforts, adding, quote, Pentagon and intelligence officials described broad hesitation to go into detail with Mr. Trump about operations against Russia for concern over his reaction and the possibility that he might countermand it or discuss it with foreign officials. The president calling the article not true and calling the press the enemy of the people. The New York Times pushing back, tweeting, accusing the press of treason is dangerous. We described the article to the government before publication. As our story notes, President Trump's own national security officials said there were no concerns. Democrats pouncing.
The security officials with the administration felt they couldn't tell this to the president because he might compromise that information.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo asked to clarify, was the report false or was it treasonous and true?
So which is it?
I never comment on intelligence matters.
Tom, no comment from the Defense Department tonight, but we do know from U.S. intelligence that Russia has tried to hack into key American targets. And according to the Times, some in the administration want Russia to be on notice. Tom?
Lana Zach for us tonight. Lana, thank you. We move on now to the severe weather threat stretching from Texas to the Northeast. 40 million Americans in the storm zone. At least 17 reported tornadoes and damaging straight-line winds in the past 24 hours. One of them destroying this church right here in Bentonville, Indiana. Torrential rain and flash flooding as well. ABC's Diane Macedo with the images tonight.
Tonight, dangerous weather is slamming Texas to the mid-Atlantic with at least 17 reported tornadoes in the past 24 hours.
We've seen the tornadoes start forming, and then the roof flew off on the houses.
4 of those twisters were confirmed in central Indiana.
There's debris everywhere in the air.
The storms knocked over semi-trailers as an EF1 tore through with winds of up to 100 miles an hour. Drone video shows these warehouses torn apart. This group even resorted to seeking shelter in the freezer of a restaurant.
I saw the trees coming down, and they told us to go back in the freezer.
Northwest of Oklahoma City, you can see this massive tornado illuminated by lightning. And in Kansas, torrential rains flooded roads, stranding cars. Now parts of Texas are getting slammed for the second time in a week,
Trees coming down in Irving,
with a tornado warning triggering sirens in Dallas.
And our weather team tells us dangerous storms could hit from Texas to D.C. and Philly in the next few hours. Tom?
All right, Diane, thank you. Overseas now to the massive protest in Hong Kong. An estimated 2 million people taking to the streets, sending a message to China and demanding the local leader step down. The historic turnout over a proposed law that would send people to China to be prosecuted. Tonight, action on that law has been suspended, but protesters say they will not back down. ABC's Bob Woodruff is in Hong Kong.
Today, Hong Kongers protested in record-breaking numbers, a sea of humanity. Organizers say nearly 2 million marching across the city to voice their anger at their Beijing-backed leader, Carrie Lam, and her controversial bill that would allow suspected criminals to be extradited from Hong Kong to mainland China. People fear Beijing would use this to target its critics like politicians, dissidents, and journalists.
You can see the anger of the people of Hong Kong. We want the withdrawal of the bill.
Lam yesterday suspended work on the bill but refused to apologize for the violence earlier in the week when police came in with helmets and shields pepper spray, and rubber bullets. At least 82 injured. Today's protest, the third major demonstration in just a week, capping a period of intense soul-searching for so many in this global financial center about their ability to have some type of autonomy from China. Many also galvanized by a protester yesterday who fell off a roof and died. Images and tributes to him all along the way into the night. Opposition lawmakers making a plea to the crowds to stay calm. Now, Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, finally apologized late in a statement, but the people here want this bill that would allow extradition to mainland China to be withdrawn, and they want her to step down. Tom?
Bob Woodruff on the streets of Hong Kong tonight. Bob, thank you. And in the Middle East, tensions ramping up between the U.S. and Iran tonight. U.S. military officials say that Iran attempted to shoot down an American drone that was watching the attack on one of those two tankers that hit the Gulf of Oman. The Trump administration says they do not want war, but they will take any action that is necessary to secure those vital shipping lanes. Here's ABC's Julia McFarland.
Tonight, as the fallout over hostilities in the Gulf continues, U.S. Central Command now revealing the Iranians attempted to shoot down an American drone monitoring one of the tankers on fire. The MQ-9, similar to this one, was allegedly targeted by an Iranian surface-to-air missile, missing it by less than a mile. This comes as the Trump administration tries to build an international consensus behind this video, which the Pentagon says shows Iranian Revolutionary Guard patrol removing an unexploded mine from one of the tanker's hulls. Today, Secretary Mike Pompeo unequivocal.
This was taken from an American camera. This is the stuff. This is the real data. Yes, we've shared it with allies already. The world needs to unite against this threat from the Islamic Republic of Iran.
But some allies still need to be convinced. Germany's foreign minister says this doesn't prove Iran carried out the attacks. The UK only announcing their own assessments pointing to Iran, with no mention of the US footage. Well, meanwhile, Iran continues to deny any involvement. Global powers increasingly concerned about security in the Gulf, at stake access to a fifth the global oil supply. Tom?
Julia, thank you. Back here at home to new developments after that tense confrontation between Phoenix police and a young family. Officers with guns drawn ordering the couple and two small children out of the car over suspicion of shoplifting. Tonight, the Phoenix mayor and the police chief are apologizing for the officers' actions. Here's ABC's Zachary Quiche.
Tonight, Phoenix police on the defensive. The city's mayor lashing out after this chilling video. Cops heard threatening to shoot a pregnant woman with two young children in her arms. The alleged crime that brought police to the scene, their 4-year-old allegedly stealing a doll from a dollar store. Appearing on KNXV today, the police chief saying sorry and that the incident is under investigation.
I apologize to the family. I apologize to the community. But at the end of the day, there's more to the story.
Police claim that 24-year-old Aisha Harper and her 22-year-old fiancé Drayvon Ames stole other items, refused police commands, and that officers feared they were armed.
When I tell you to do something, you do it.
But at one point, an officer is filmed kicking Ames. Harper accuses police of trying to grab her child, claiming the toddler's arm was injured before she briefly was forced to give her baby to a total stranger. The video is captured by witnesses who don't want to be identified.
It was just a scary situation I never thought I'd be in. Traumatizing for me and my daughter.
The couple was not charged with any crime. The Phoenix mayor slamming police, saying, "There is no situation in which this is ever close to acceptable. As a mother myself, seeing these children put in such a terrifying position is beyond upsetting." The couple has filed a notice of intent to sue the city of Phoenix for $10 million. The officers involved have been assigned desk duty pending the investigation. Tom?
Zachary Quiche for us tonight. Zachary, thank you. And back now with the close call for a mother and daughter from North Carolina. The mother crediting an app with helping to save her 17-year-old's daughter's life. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
Tonight, this teenager recovering from a horrific car crash.
Please send someone, please.
Crediting an iPhone app with saving her life.
It was just a miracle. Like, it truly is a miracle.
17-year-old Macy Smith was driving alone in North Carolina when her car hydroplaned, flipping and landing 25 feet down a ravine. Her arm pinned under the car for 7 hours. Once she missed curfew, her worried mother texted and called repeatedly.
The lack of response was out of character for her.
So Mom turned to the Find My Friends app, which allows users to track each other's locations, using it to guide her to the crash scene.
I can't explain watching the GPS on my phone, my dot getting close to hers.
My daughter is in a ditch in a ravine.
Macy now hoping her survival story encourages other teens to use the app with their families.
I know it's hard for teenagers to give up your privacy, be in places that you don't want your parents to know about. It's not worth being trapped under a car for 7 hours.
And tonight, Macy is home from the hospital, regaining movement in her arm and feeling grateful for that technology. Tom?
Incredible that mother and daughter had that app ready. All right, Marcy, thank you. And upholding a mistake. The company CEO telling reporters in Paris communication with customers and regulators about a problematic cockpit warning system in 737 MAX jets was inconsistent and unacceptable. Faulty data from a sensor may have contributed to 2 crashes overseas, Boeing promising transparency as it tries to get 737s grounded for months back up in flight. And the disturbing moment caught on camera in South Africa. The motorcycle rider waiting at a light when a pickup, you see it there, blows through that intersection, slamming that rider. Police say the impact smashed the bike to pieces, throwing the rider 30 feet. The 22-year-old recovering from serious injuries tonight. Police are on the hunt for the hit-and-run driver. And the new plans for Air Force One. Our George Stephanopoulos takes us on board the historic aircraft and into the Oval Office, where President Trump details his plans for a red, white, and blue redesign, plus a wider wingspan. George asking if there's a special pod feature like in the movie Air Force One.
There are a couple of secrets I don't think we're supposed to be talking about.
Well, the president not revealing anything there. The Air Force One change is expected to arrive by 2024. And this Father's Day first for Prince Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex releasing this brand new photo of baby Archie. 7th in line to the throne, just over 6 weeks old today. Happy Father's Day to Harry. And when we come with that, happy Father's Day to all the dads.